In a quiet neighborhood, the Walsh family found themselves ensnared in a harrowing battle against a predatory HOA president, Brenda Tate. Claire Walsh, a devoted mother, faced relentless harassment as Tate wielded her power to intimidate and control. The situation escalated, leaving Claire feeling vulnerable and desperate as her family's safety and peace were threatened. This gripping story reveals the emotional turmoil that ensued, showcasing the lengths to which one family must go to protect their home and community. The incident serves as a stark reminder of the critical importance of accountability within community leadership. It highlights how unchecked authority can lead to fear and division, undermining the very essence of neighborhood safety. As we delve deeper into this unsettling tale, we invite you to reflect on the vital role each of us plays in safeguarding our communities and standing up against those who exploit their power for personal gain. Cedar Hollow Estates was a picturesque neighborhood, characterized by its tree-lined streets, manicured lawns, and charming homes adorned with flower beds and decorative porch lights. It was the kind of place that evoked a sense of comfort and stability. The Walsh family, Claire, Evan, and their two children, Ben and Sophie, were thrilled to settle into their dream home, a cozy two-story colonial with white shutters and a wraparound porch. It was more than just a house, it was their fresh start. The community was known for its friendly atmosphere, where neighbors greeted one another with smiles. Children rode bikes in the cul-de-sac, and couples walked dogs at dusk. Seasonal decorations lined the streets during holidays, and block parties filled the summer nights with music and laughter. Claire and Evan felt a sense of belonging that they had longed for during their years of renting in less tight-knit areas. They imagined their children growing up here, carving pumpkins in the fall and sledding down snowy driveways in the winter. Initially, their interactions with Brenda Tate, the HOA president, were positive. She welcomed them with a warm smile and a batch of cookies. Brenda offered guidance on community events, introduced them to key residents, and even recommended local babysitters. Her friendly demeanor made them feel at ease, reinforcing their belief that they had chosen the perfect place to raise their family. But behind her polished appearance and charm, Brenda wielded an iron grip over Cedar Hollow's affairs. Brenda had lived in the neighborhood for over a decade and knew every inch of its streets and bylaws. Her position had become more than a duty, it was her domain. Her word was rarely questioned, and few dared oppose her, fearing fines, scrutiny, or worse. Little did the Walshes know that this idyllic setting would soon become the backdrop for a struggle that would test their resilience and unity in ways they never imagined. At first, the red flags were subtle, minor inconveniences brushed off as coincidences. Claire received notices about garden gnomes violating HOA decor guidelines. Evan was asked to repaint the mailbox post because it wasn't the exact shade of approved white. Harmless enough, or so they thought. But the citations became more frequent and more unreasonable. A few weeds in the flower bed earned them a warning. A tricycle left near the sidewalk led to a fine. It was as if the Walsh family had become a target. Claire tried to handle things diplomatically. She attended HOA meetings, raised concerns respectfully, and even volunteered for the neighborhood cleanup committee. But it became clear that Brenda was not interested in collaboration, only control. She seemed to take pleasure in nitpicking the Walsh's property, using her authority to micromanage and intimidate. Claire often came home from these meetings frustrated, sometimes in tears. Evan would comfort her, rubbing her shoulders and reassuring her that they would get through it. But deep down, even he was starting to worry. They weren't just dealing with a difficult neighbor. They were facing someone who saw her role as HOA president not as a responsibility, but as a throne. They began documenting every letter, every fine, and every passive-aggressive note taped to their mailbox. Claire created a folder labeled HOA harassment and filled it with photographs, printed emails, and timestamps. Still, the pressure mounted. Brenda began inspecting their yard with a clipboard, standing across the street and taking photos with her phone. Other neighbors noticed, but most stayed silent, afraid of becoming targets themselves. Then, on a seemingly ordinary day, everything changed. The tranquility of Cedar Hollow Estates was shattered when Claire Walsh was struck by Brenda Tate's SUV. It was a sunny Saturday morning, and Claire was out walking their golden retriever, Luna, along their usual route. The sidewalk wound through a quiet corner of the neighborhood near the community garden. Claire waved at a few neighbors, savoring the warmth on her skin and the peaceful sound of birds chirping in the trees. She was thinking about what to cook for lunch when the sound of a revving engine broke the calm. Security footage later revealed the moments leading up to the accident. Brenda's silver SUV rounded the corner too fast, tires screeching as it hopped the curb and struck Claire from behind. She was thrown several feet, landing hard on the pavement. Luna barked wildly and tugged at her leash, circling Claire's crumpled body. Brenda's vehicle came to a jerky stop several yards away. The shocking incident left Evan in a state of disbelief and horror as he rushed to his wife's side. A neighbor had called him frantically, and he had sprinted down the street, heart pounding, barely able to comprehend the words. "It's Claire! She's been hit!" When he reached her, she was barely conscious, blood trickling from a gash on her forehead, her legs twisted unnaturally beneath her. Paramedics arrived within minutes, loading her onto a stretcher as Evan clutched her hand, trying to hold himself together for her sake. The emotional turmoil was overwhelming. Evan felt helpless, grappling with the fear of losing the love of his life. Their children, still at home under a neighbor's care, had no idea their world was about to change. As neighbors gathered around the scene, stunned and murmuring in disbelief, the urgency of the moment intensified. The quiet neighborhood was filled with sirens, flashing lights, and the heavy weight of fear. Evan's mind raced as he followed the ambulance to the hospital. Every red light felt like an eternity. The waiting room was a blur, nurses calling names, intercoms crackling, the antiseptic smell of the emergency ward. Evan could hardly breathe. When the doctors finally allowed him to see Claire, she was hooked up to monitors, her face bruised, her body limp and broken. He wept at her bedside, whispering promises and apologies, his heart splitting under the weight of helplessness. Meanwhile, the police began their investigation. Officers canvassed the neighborhood, collected witness statements, and reviewed security camera footage. Brenda, despite overwhelming evidence, claimed it was an accident. She insisted Claire had stepped off the sidewalk. But the video told a different story, one where Brenda had veered toward Claire, not away. The footage showed no signs of braking or swerving. The truth was becoming impossible to deny. Brenda was temporarily removed from her HOA duties during the investigation, though she protested loudly and called the decision political. At a closed-door emergency board meeting, residents voiced their fears and suspicions. "We can't allow someone who hurt a neighbor to remain in power," one man said. The room murmured in agreement. As the investigation unfolded, the security footage became a crucial piece of evidence. It clearly captured the moments leading up to the crash, solidifying the case against Brenda. It was undeniable. Her actions had been reckless at best, deliberate at worst. Evan, fueled by a mix of grief and righteous fury, demanded justice. He confronted Brenda at a community meeting, his voice trembling with emotion. "You did this," he said, holding up a copy of the police report. "You nearly killed my wife, and you're pretending nothing happened." Brenda remained cold, her arms crossed, her expression blank. "It was an unfortunate event," she said, "but I won't be villainized for a mistake." Her indifference only deepened Evan's anger. How could someone who had smiled at them over potlucks and fundraisers be capable of such cruelty? As Claire underwent surgery and began the long process of recovery, The community began to shift. Neighbors who had once stayed neutral began to speak up. They had seen enough. Some shared stories of Brenda's authoritarian behavior, threats over fence heights, surveillance of private yards, petty fines that had driven families away. What had once been whispers turned into a collective outcry. The support from neighbors proved invaluable. Families brought meals, offered rides, and helped care for the Walsh children. A GoFundMe raised thousands for medical expenses. Handmade cards from neighborhood kids lined the Walsh's fridge. The warmth and solidarity offered moments of relief in an otherwise dark time. In the wake of the accident, Cedar Hollow rallied around the Walsh family. Residents stepped forward with testimonies, recounting previous incidents where Brenda had acted with hostility or negligence. Her carefully curated image began to unravel. One elderly neighbor recounted how Brenda had fined her for having a non-compliant American flag on her porch. Another admitted he had sold his home after repeated harassment. Each story added weight to the Walsh's claims and painted a broader picture of abuse. The incident marked a turning point. Cedar Hollow transformed from a passive neighborhood into a galvanized community. Meetings were filled to capacity. Residents demanded Brenda's removal and called for bylaws to be amended to prevent future abuses of power. A new HOA oversight committee was formed, composed of diverse residents dedicated to fairness and transparency. Brenda Tate, once untouchable, now faced serious legal repercussions. The charges included reckless driving, assault with a vehicle, and endangerment. The district attorney took a firm stance, emphasizing that no title or position justified harm. Leadership does not place someone above the law, the DA said during a press conference. It demands more of them. Brenda's trial became a media spectacle, drawing attention beyond the quiet streets of Cedar Hollow. News vans lined the roads and reporters knocked on doors. Claire, despite her pain, testified bravely. Her voice was steady, though her hands trembled. She described the fear, the pain, the betrayal. Evan held her hand as the courtroom listened in silence. In the end, justice was served. Brenda was convicted of reckless endangerment and stripped of her HOA title. She was ordered to pay restitution and face community service. Though no sentence could undo the trauma, the Walsh family found some solace in the verdict. Claire's recovery was long and grueling. She endured months of physical therapy, relearning how to walk, managing nerve pain, and battling nightmares. But she was resilient. With Evan by her side and the unwavering support of her neighbors, she made it through. Their home, once a place of fear, became a symbol of victory. Claire planted sunflowers in the front yard, bright, defiant, and full of life. The family hosted a neighborhood barbecue that summer, a celebration not just of Claire's survival, but of the community's transformation. That day, children ran through sprinklers and laughter echoed across the lawns. Neighbors toasted to resilience, to unity, and to a new beginning. The Walsh family's harrowing experience serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of community vigilance and support. From the initial incident involving Claire to the legal battle that followed, the events highlighted how crucial it is for neighbors to stand together in the face of adversity. The overwhelming support from Cedar Hollow Estates demonstrated that a united community can affect change and hold leaders accountable. As viewers reflect on their own neighborhoods and HOA dynamics, it's essential to recognize the role each individual plays in fostering a safe and responsible environment. This story encourages everyone to be proactive in their communities, ensuring that no one is above accountability. Power, left unchecked, can be dangerous, but unity, compassion, and courage can overcome even the darkest moments. If you found this narrative impactful, we invite you to subscribe, like, and share this video to raise awareness about the importance of community engagement and vigilance. Together, we can create safer neighborhoods and empower one another to stand against injustice.